Hi, welcome back to the ExAnime podcast. My name is Justus. This is my co-host, Matt.
No, it's not.
This is my co-host, Rodrigo.
Don't even get me started on Rodrigo.
Today, we are just going to be focusing on shows that are currently airing this season. And three of them in particular, though there will be a fourth mini rant near the end because Matt wants to talk about it, but we're going to be...
It will be a bad Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
The three core ones we're specifically going to be focusing on today is Dr. Stone, the Promised Neverland, and Quintessential Quintuplets. So jumping into Dr. Stone.
Yeah, fuck you, my guy. I totally didn't have to watch 36 extra episodes this week.
That's on him.
That's not on me. That's because he wanted to watch him.
I mean, I like Dr. Stone, and he had watched part of it, but apparently didn't remember, so he had to start over.
No, I didn't watch. I watched bits and pieces of it while other people were watching it. Now I had to watch the whole thing. That's not my
fault that you only watch bits and pieces.
I had to watch it for you so we could talk about it this season. It's not a bad choice. It's a good show. It's just 36 episodes is a lot in 1 week when you're working on other stuff and edits and recording other stuff.
Yeah. So season 2 is currently 2 episodes in.
Yes.
Do you want, because it's super fresh for you, do you want to touch a little bit on what happened in season 1?
Man, a lot of shit happens in season 1. You go from basically season 1, I don't like... So episode 1 starts off with, we're not going to go through every episode, but episode 1 starts off with like, I can't remember his name.
Senku?
No. It's his buddy that's going to propose that he loves this other chick. Listen, the biggest beef I got with the show in season 1 is like, you see these 3 characters, right? For the first like fucking 4 episodes. And then you don't see the other 2 for literally 23 episodes, and then they show up again at the end. It's like, oh, Seiku, it's you, and he's like, yeah, look, we can talk, or they hint that we can talk because they don't actually talk till you get to season 2, and then they actually communicate. That was in the newest
they
episode.
haven't even communicated the newest episode today.
What? Yeah, episode 2.
Episode came out today. Episode 2 came out today. Episode 1 only aired.
Did you watch episode 2?
No, have you?
Episode 2 came out like, what is that? 14 hours ago?
Yeah. I was asleep by then.
Yeah, I said the first 2 episodes. You haven't seen it yet?
I've seen episode 1, but I have an idea of exactly what's happening in episode 2.
Sorry, spoiler in episode 2.
It's not super spoiler. It's like Dr. Stone, kind of like Jujutsu Kaisen, and that is fairly linear in its shonen type.
Except Dr. Stone, all the comments, like if you go to Crunchyroll, if you watch it specifically on Crunchyroll, because I don't think Funimation has comments, do they? Videos?
No, they took away their comment.
Their comments are fucking hilarious. It's like when you go to skip school, when you skip science class, and you still learn the science class. Because Dr. Stone is actually pretty accurate on the way of like, this is what you do to mix it. They don't tell you what portion specifically, unless they're telling you to make gunpowder, and then they're straight up like, here's how you actually make gunpowder, but don't try it at home. But try it at home.
Yeah.
No, but Dr. Stone, you start off with Senku. Technically you don't meet him till like 10 minutes in, which Senku is technically, he is the main character of the whole show.
He is Dr. Stone.
Yeah, he is Dr. Stone. And the whole point of Dr. Stone is the whole world's been petrified by this unknown wave of, I don't know, whatever, radiation. And it's this whole battle between the Science Nation, which is Senku, and then his fuck it, let me click on my anime list. I'm sorry, I'm horrible.
Tsukasa.
I'm also terrible with names.
Tsukasa.
Which we all learned last week. I'm terrible with reading and writing. So Tsukasa is like pro, like, let's stick in the Stone Age. Let's only revive the children because they're pure. They're not terrible people. Even though everyone they've revived so far apparently is just a giant murderous person.
Yeah, also...
So he's only for reviving young people that are strong because apparently everyone they revive looks like they're 30 and they're like convicted
Though
felons.
They're all supposed to be like 16.
Yeah, I'm
it's
just
the
your average...
JoJo
Yeah,
thing
I'm your
all
average
over again.
16-year-old.
Yeah, with my 8-pack.
Yeah, mine is Senku. He's making the Science Nation. Now, the other, I'd say, big supporting character is Chrome. I mean, the thing is, like, a lot of people in the village, you see them so often because they hang out, they teach you science. But Chrome was really your big secondary character, I'd say, for 8 or 9 episodes. Then when Gin gets introduced, he's the mentalist, I think is his actual thing.
Yeah, he's used to do illusions and stuff back.
Which kind of benefits them. So right now they're in the process of building up this village to fight against Tsukasa, because Tsukasa has control of like this cave with bats and their poop mixed with a certain amount of alcohol unpetrifies people.
Yeah.
And he's also in the process of like killing every adult statue. But Senku is trying to save everyone in the world. Which at the other point of this is like, Senku's probably going to win because he's on the side of science. Because they've already developed gunpowder. Now they need to get to the bat cave in order to make more. But they have gunpowder. They're making literally electricity by, I think, episode 14. I think they just started producing electricity. And then in episode...
I mean, they've made vacuum tubes and stuff by this point.
Yeah. No, vacuum tubes was after, because they made electricity.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, by the end of season 1, like,
at the end of season 1, they have, like, a water wheel making vacuum tubes, and they're fucking making phones, or technically radios is what they really are.
And then...
which is crazy, because the cool thing about this whole series is, for us, it's like, oh, yeah, it's cool. But they play it from the perspective of the rest of the characters. They were born in, like, basically the Stone Age, which is why it's Dr. Stone. He's a doctor of the Stone Age. So everything...
Like 3,000 years after.
Yeah, 3,700 years. Because they always gotta fucking mention that. But it's cool because you see all these characters, like, slowly learning skills that incorporate helping Senku build other technological things. So, like, Chrome is getting very technologically advanced because he says, oh, yeah, we're going to speed around to the, technology age.
Because he's a tinkerer. He would essentially be considered like the Galileo of his time.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
And Einstein, or not Einstein.
No, I Galileo more because he makes these inventions that... Because you see stuff like the water wheel, like they Chrome and the
Senku
old man
would be more the Einstein. Working in tandem with Galileo. Yeah, because Chrome has made his own hut with like a bunch of samples of stuff, and he's trying to tinker and figure out how they
how he can use them in different ways. And you see that because it's like, oh shoot, Chrome, you've made this stuff that no one's... Because all traces of like past human life are gone. I mean, it's been 3,700 years of nothing being maintained. So all buildings have basically collapsed. Unless it's made out of like solid, like
concrete.
Really? Yeah. And even some of those, I mean, over time, it's
the only thing the perfect example was that Buddha that still existed.
I think the Buddha was made out of, it wasn't concrete, it was made out of I can't remember what it was made out of.
Maybe it was just a solid.
It was like a certain type of metal that doesn't degrade over time. It was...
lead or something.
Well, it's cool because you watch the show and you think like, oh yeah, they can find steel, and it's like, oh shit, this is how you make steel. Like, how do we get at this hut? Let's make this hut. Then we use this item. It's like it's kind of like Minecraft, where you make one thing in order to make another thing to make another thing, like Sky Factory, like when we play that. But all in all, Dr. Stone, I like it a lot. So far, the first episode is great because they just get right back into it.
Yeah,
you get like a 3-minute summary. And then they're like 3 or 5 minute summary, and then you get 20 minutes of actual show.
I do even like a little bit how they phrase that with Geen talking to all the kids and like explaining like some of the stuff that maybe they weren't super privy to.
Yeah, it's a good way
before Senku became the chief of the village, which it was kind of an important.
We did get a tournament arc in season 1. I forgot about that. Top 10 animes tournament arc.
Homie needed glasses to win. But like with season 2, I was surprised. Season 2 is super short. It's 11 episodes, so not even the standard 12. So
yeah, considering season 1 was 24.
This is 100%. At the end of the 11 episodes, the Stone Wars arc is done. I would assume that would be the only reason. Like, hey, we're getting through this arc and we're not going to like set up anything else, maybe except for near the end of the last episode of episode 11, but not starting to get into another arc, like maybe saving that for another 24 episode season 3 kind of thing, which makes sense. I always kind of hate when they get like halfway into something and it's like, all right, we'll see you next season. But the biggest thing for like episode 1 is kind of reminding you, okay, here's the conflict. Like the two heads that are fighting is Senku versus Tsukasa. They're the Kingdom of Science is currently being watched by one of the people that Tsukasa has set out to be a lookout in case they're doing anything weird. She's kind of a shit lookout because she keeps watching from a really far away area, and if you watched even marginally closer, she'd be like, hey, they have radios now.
Yeah. Well, I don't think she would be too, because I'm not hating on her, but she like, you find out from each character individually because they do like a quick like 1 or 2 minute flashback, like, oh, she used to do da 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 da. You haven't seen episode 2, so I'm not saying anything.
Yeah.
But also, I want to point out real quick the what is it?
The studio that
did it. So they also did a Real Life, great show. D. Gray Man, fantastic show. I quite enjoyed it. But then last season they did Rent a Girlfriend, which arguably one of the better shows. Then, a couple seasons before that, they did one of my most favorite shows, Megalobox.
they've been doing Fruits Basket as well.
Yeah, like this studio has constantly been doing like super good, recognizable things. Like Megalobox, it's like Cowboy Bebop. Kind of that same kind of style. And then they go and they do Fruits Basket, which is like a full 180 of like...
Because they've...
How?
Yeah. They've also been doing the Detective Conan stuff. But yeah, they've been pretty... in on everything, especially within the last couple of years. And
then Baki. You can kind of see some of the animation style in Baki that they did in Dr. Stone, but it's crazy because they've been doing so many good things, especially in just past 2 years, like All Out, fantastic. There's a lot of character designs that look similar in All Out than
especially when you think of like all of the stuff that they would be doing at the exact same time. Like
this is like all stuff Netflix has picked up.
Yeah,
with the show.
Like they would have been doing Fruits Basket season 2 and Dr. Stone season 2 at the exact same time, and they have already officially announced Fruits Basket season 3, which means they're working on that in the background while they're finishing this season. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. This probably won't say how big their team is, but I bet they have a decent amount of points.
I mean, it would have to be pretty large. They in the last 3 years they put out 8 shows.
Yeah.
And a handful of those are like
get bigger and bigger.
But yeah, so far there's not a crazy amount to really say about this season. They're setting up the communication between Yuzuhara and Taiju. I
mean, this season is definitely just I think the fight arc season. My guess is they'll do this season as the fighting arc. Take the next couple months off, and then maybe towards the end of the year do another season of Dr. Stone, but then that'll be their 24 episode season.
I mean, maybe, but I think the difficulty with that is they would typically, when they do that, they would announce that it's 24 episodes, but then they'd split it into part 1, part 2.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying they'll probably do like a full... I'm guessing the next season will probably be 24.
Yeah, I would assume this time next year.
That seems like what a lot of studios are doing. They're doing 24, 12, then 24 again, and then back to 12. Yeah. Except for I think like My Hero and Attack on Titan was like 24, like 24, 25, then it was like a 12 or 13. Same thing, 12 or 13, and then Attack on Titan this season's supposed to be 16.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much it for Dr. Stone. Not a lot has happened.
Yeah, it's all setup stuff. Probably within the next 2 to 3 episodes. By like episode 5, I would say like stuff would really be kicking off. The most.
Promised Neverland, though.
Yeah, Promised Neverland is kicking off real quick.
First of all, speaking of studios, they've been fucking busy too, because they're also doing Hiromiya, which is what we're watching right now, and Promised Neverland season 2.
They just finished The Millionaire Detective.
Yeah, they just finished Millionaire Detective, which was just last season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this season
also doing Wandering Egg.
Yep, they're also doing Wandering Egg. So they have 3. I think there's one more they're doing this season.
It's Cloverworks, right?
Yeah, it's Cloverworks but they've been busy. I mean, when you look Because they're not that old of a studio too, right?
No.
They also did Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, and then Darling in the Franxx, which was arguably like the show of, what was that, 2018, right?
Yeah.
It says down
at the
there.
bottom.
Yeah, that was the show of 2018. Minus, like, they kicked ass at the beginning of the year. Yeah, minus the ending. So Darling in the Franxx, biggest show, I think, of 2018 beginning. And at the end of the year, Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. That was also a very big show.
They also did the sequel movie, which is that one right there, which is Rascal Does Not Dream of a Dreaming Girl.
Yeah. And they also did the Fairy Tail final series, but I got beef with Fairy Tail. But minus that, I mean, so this is another thing. I had to watch everything in the course of a week. Also, that fucking song for Promised Neverland.
Isabel's
Lullaby. Fucking sad, dude. This whole fucking series is going to tear my heart out. I just fucking know it.
So, just a quick recap for season 1 as well. Man.
So you have 3 main characters, first of all. You have
so Norman, Ray,
and then Emma.
Yeah, and Emma. And the entire premise is they are on what they think is just a
regular orphanage.
Yeah, and it turns out that is not the case, that they are actually on a farm that entirely raises them to be slaughtered for demons who will suck out their brains. That's like,
we don't know if they'll suck or chew or...
No, it's literally sucking. It's like...
chew out their brains.
Nah.
No.
It's too quick.
Have you seen them?
Kind of.
Listen, dude, the first episode, they literally introduce you to, hey, this is nice, cute. Hey, she forgot her bunny. Let's go take it to her. To then, like, holy shit, there's these giant creepy monsters.
Yeah, and...
they're one of 6 farms. That's what you find out towards the end of season 1.
Yeah, and specifically their farm is always the highest producing farm ever.
Yeah.
Like, in its history.
Basically, the smarter you are, the better you taste. And then the older, it's kind of like a wine type thing.
It's kind of a wine thing with an expiration date.
Yeah.
By the time you reach 13, no matter what, it's time for you to go because you've matured to the point, which is why Norman...
That's like peak. You're Wagyu at that point.
Yeah, which is why Norman is sent away. He was adopted, as they like
to say.
Yeah, and
which makes me sad to think, like, fuck, come on, Norman. Like,
there's a chance that he may be still alive. Like, there's always,
because they hinted at it. They opened the door and they're like, wait here, Norman, in his eyes, because you don't see him get taken away in the truck. You just see them open the door.
Yeah, because at some point there's always the idea of, like, look, someone has to be helping to breed. So why not keep one of the smartest people alive?
To breed smarter.
Yeah, to that quasi like level of like smart people breed smart people kind of thing. So there's always a chance that Norman may be alive, but all of the kids quietly in the background plot to their escape from the farm when they realize that essentially they're just cattle. Of course, they can't take everyone because there are still like infants and
that's the whole
children
battle.
That are too young that no matter what they'll have to be left.
That's a fight they have with themselves. The entire series is just, or like, can we? Because Emma wants to take them all until you get to, I think it's the last episode, right? Then she decides we'll take anybody ages 5 plus.
Yeah,
because they figure, well, these are the smartest. This is the smartest farm. So they definitely won't take him to their at least 6. So every 4-year-old has about 2 years before they turn 6 to when they'll start to take him. Because 6 seems to be the earliest. That's the lowest grade. It's not like the lowest, but it's like the lowest they'll take. And then you find out like there's their mother, which is Isabella. And you find out she's only like 30. I think she just turned 30.
Yeah, she's fairly young.
Very young. And then that's when you also find out there's another caretaker. And that's when you find out, like, oh, you know, once some of these kids turn, like when the girls turn 13, a lot of the time, not a lot of the time, some of the time they're given the chance of, hey, do you want to become a mother, like trained to be a mother? And then you can live, because obviously you want the smartest kids teaching these kids to be smarter to then make them higher quality food.
Similar with the man kind of process where there has to be someone.
Yeah, well, that we guess because they never say.
Yeah.
But they also say, like, apparently people get along. Like, you learn out from this other, not mother, what do they call her? Just a helper?
Yeah, something like that.
This other woman that shows up that's
Maid,
like...
kind of.
Yeah, she's only like 26 or something like that. But you find out from her, she says, like, oh, there's normal people outside of this, and they, like... That's how they get a lot of the stuff for the kids, and they have normal interactions, and they're on good terms. But the thing is, like, how far do they go?
Mm-hmm.
Because you see, like, this compound is only this compound. You don't see more of them outside of this. So it's a world mixed of humans and demons and giant creatures. And that's where you start to get into, because you've seen the second episode, right?
The most recent? I've seen the first two
episode
episodes.
3 came out today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And then the first episode, it's just...
real quick before we get into the first episode. Of course, they do eventually manage to escape. The compound, of course, is much more tricky. Like, there's a giant wall, and then there's this massive pit that they have to get through. But they eventually make it. They outsmart Isabel, who is a very, very smart individual.
Well,
like,
yeah, you'd have to teach all these kids.
Yeah, basically the entire time, especially there, like roughly halfway through, it's revealed that she basically knows everything that's going on at all times. Yeah. And
they reveal they have trackers and like and they cure kids like earlobes or whatever.
But the kids escape, and then that's roughly the end of season 1. And then we get into season 2, which currently only has the 3 episodes out. We've seen the first 2 because episode 3 only aired today, and I sleep too late to be able to both watch it and do this at a reasonable time. The first 2 episodes fully established that the outside world is scary as shit. All of there's more monsters
outside of
the forest that is surrounding the farm is just filled with monsters and people that are hunting them. Because the demons know that they've escaped and they're trying to get them back.
Super high quality merchandise.
Mm-hmm. And Emma is wounded because she ripped out the tracker in her ear and it got infected.
She cut off her whole ear.
Yeah, she cut off her whole ear.
And she only cut like part of, like, I thought they were going to cut the lobe of it. Like, no, she just straight up was like, cut off.
Yeah.
So you get blood loss mixed with, she's a kid, so. Like, if we were to cut off our ears, the blood loss wouldn't affect us as much as, like...
It'd be still pretty bad, though.
I mean, it'd be bad. Yeah, you cut off your ear with very little antibiotics.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything's on the farm. So, I mean, they're running away to try and find more people outside that will help them.
Yeah.
As far as...
They're getting a lot of their information from books of...
A guy that donates the books and then...
Yeah. It's a, like, entire hidden... rule set of stuff on how to survive on the outside.
Yeah, and they put it in story format. Yeah. So that, like, these smart kids would know.
Mm-hmm.
So people on the outside obviously know. People on the inside it seems like some people know what's going on, but they haven't hinted at, does everyone know?
Yeah.
It seems like people on the farm never leave the farm. Like, that is it.
Yeah. In episode 1, they're tracked. They all escape. Ray is almost captured by the demons, but is saved by another demon, surprisingly.
Well, you don't know he's a demon, I think, until episode 2, right?
It's pretty obvious that he was kind of a demon. And then Emma collapses, and she, as well as all the other kids, are also saved by a female demon, who just so happens to be a companion of the demon that saved Ray. And when they awake within episode 2, they're in an underground tunnel area, and basically they find out that both of these demons are hippies, essentially. They're pacifists. Like, they don't...
they don't believe in what the rest of them... So, that kind of begs the question of, like, is it a whole, like, civilization of aliens, or do the aliens just live exclusively?
Well, they're just demons.
Well, yeah. Do these demons just, like, live near the farm? Because those are the only 2 demons you saw outside of the farm so far. We're only 2 episodes in, so they're going to explore more. Well,
there was the head demon chasing them, and then there was the two.
Those like smaller minion things.
Yeah.
So they say there's like merchandise they got to send them to. So obviously there's probably like another like land they're sending these people to.
Yeah, and one of the important things is it turns out that thousands of years ago there was apparently a war between the demons and humans. And as a way to make peace, essentially, they agreed to set up a section just for demons. And there was a subsection of humans that were just given to fully thrive off of forever, to always just like bear kids, and that will be their subsistence, and they will look the other way as long as the demons don't attack them.
Well, the thing too is
that's what that forest is.
It's really not that many kids when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's say even if like I think they said once every like couple months someone new shows up, like a new baby. So you got 6 areas.
Mm-hmm.
So that's at least 6 kids every 3 months.
It could be even longer than that, because specifically those are the stats for the one.
Yeah. So even if you look at it that way, let's even you said a kid a month on average between all the facilities. It's really not that. I mean, if you're ending a whole war for that, I mean, it's a terrible thing to do. So I wonder if humanity's been completely destroyed, or they're living peacefully and they just don't care.
Yeah, and that's because they're like hinting at.
They are
that
advanced.
They haven't established.
Civilization is advanced enough to where you have
holograms,
cameras. Yeah, I mean,
radios exist.
Tracking
devices.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty advanced human civilization out there.
Yeah, I would assume that there's that level of like pseudo hybrid of roughly Full Metal Alchemist time, where you have the radios and stuff like that, mixed with maybe like in certain areas being shifted just a little bit further in time, but the aesthetic is still roughly around.
I think it's probably like I think it's like a 2000s era type civilization.
Yeah, with the style of still being in the 70s ish.
I'm wondering if like by the end 50s. Of this, my guess is by the end of the season they'll find the outside human world, and my guess is they'll just send them back. They'll be like, no, fuck these kids.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know that there's like 20 something volumes, and we are nowhere even near like volume 10 roughly.
Yeah.
So
it's usually like what, 3 chapters in a volume, and usually it's a chapter per episode.
I think there's like 6 chapters in a volume on average.
Oh, is there? So I mean, 120 episodes. I mean, there's obviously a lot you can probably skip, but
yeah, there's a lot to do, and of course they're setting up, trying to go back, and once they have like the safety net, to liberate all the farms, essentially, like stop it all from continuing to happen. One of the biggest things to note, though, is Emma. Of course, she's continuously trying to learn, to help, because she feels fairly powerless in a lot of instances, that she's always relying on people. And she ends up killing a bird. And, oh, man, near the end of episode 2, you realize that innocence only continues to be ripped from her, because they even make mention of asking her if she's all right, and she just kind of gives a deadpan stare, like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine." And it's like, oh, it's a rough one. Like I definitely understand the like removing of innocence, and in their case, the continuation of like, hey, you've only ever been raised to be food. Your mother actually doesn't care about you, quote unquote mother.
Dude, they completely make you fucking feel at the end of season 1. Isabella's like, she has a flashback of a second, because like, you think Isabel is this terrible person. She is, but then you realize, well, she's just trying to stay alive, and then they hit you with, holy shit, raise her son. Mm-hmm. I'm like,
yeah, which also creates that establishment of like, I believe the person that is his father is one designated to like just breed.
Yeah.
So unless there was like a thing going on between the two of them, which in that case she'd be like 14 when that happened, or 13 minimum, or as late as 13.
No. The thing is, like, so they show in the show. Because the thing is, she's like the other girl, what was the black girl's name? I can't remember her name.
I don't remember.
Because they just called her like maid or like mom too. They didn't say her actual name, but like they show her and she hasn't had a kid yet. And she's 26. So I wonder if there's a point where they make you have a kid.
Maybe.
Like before you become a mom officially, you then have a kid, which then like is the transition to becoming a real mom.
Crone was her name.
Crone. There we go. Yeah. So I wonder if that's a official thing of like, you're a mom now, you don't have to give birth. Because all those girls like in training to become a mom must have some point been forced to have kids. Mm-hmm. Now it must have been at the end of their training. Like let's say they're not picked, they then have to have a kid. Because each of them has to have more than one kid. And she didn't like, there was nothing that hinted that she was going to have a kid. So I'm guessing maybe like once you're 26 or whatever, you go have a kid and then, or a kid or two. Because I don't think they'd let him have a kid that early. Even if though it is a farm, it just wouldn't work out.
Yeah, it's just she seems so young in those flashbacks of like the person that she like fell in love with.
Yeah, because she's like, actually I think she's like 32 and then Ray has just turned 13. So maybe when they're 20, which I mean, that'd make sense. I know plenty of like 22, 23-year-olds having kids. So.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my brother's 25 and he has 3 kids.
That's not liar. Does he have a farm?
No, could. But yeah, this is another show doing a lot of setup, a lot of prep work in the background. I'm not quite sure how episode 3 has played out. I just know that, they're doing a really good job of giving you existential dread and showing that these children, no matter what, can never go back to just being children. And it doesn't matter if they're 12. Nope. Congratulations, you're an adult now, essentially.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to our final one today. Oh, boy.
Quince is still ranked popularity 777.
Yeah.
Rings 505. Listen, man. They took away my animation. They took away my animation quality.
It's a different studio.
I know, but they took away the plot, my dude. That's what got me into it. The thing is, like, the animation
story got me into it.
The story's good. The thing that bothers me is not the animation really of the girls. It's the dude. They drastically changed his animation. I hate how he looks.
Futuro? Really?
Yeah, Futuro. Like the way he looks now. That's the way it looks in season 1, right? I don't know if they have a season 2 picture or not. I'll have to look it up. I mean, it's not terrible, but season 1, if you haven't seen it, basically, main character Futuro. He's a very poor
nerd.
Poor nerd. Yep. So his dream is to like be super smart to get scholarships so he can go to school and then help his family get out of poverty. And then he just happens to, like in the first episode, he stumbles into the main character by accident. He's like, whatever, fuck this shit. And then he gets a text or email something about like, hey, can you be a tutor for my 5 daughters? And the guy will pay him an absurd amount of money to be a private tutor to him. And lo and behold, like most animes, I run back into the fucking girl that I bumped into. Mm. Now in the show, Justice had to point this out to me. Didn't know this was a thing in the manga. But apparently in the manga, they all do just have the same hair color.
Well, no. So in the manga and the show,
they're technically supposed to have the same hair color in the face because they all have the same face.
Yeah. So they all look similar
because they're quintuplets
in design because they are quintuplets. But specifically, like the hair color that we see is only to distinguish fully
who is who.
Yes. So that's it also gives a little bit of personality for each character.
Yeah.
For like the cover art and stuff. But there are as an individual who has read all of the manga, there are multiple instances of one of them being another one of them. And of course, it's definitely played in, and even in episode 2, it's played up where it's like Futuro just can't tell them apart without like them being dressed the way they normally dress. And that's like a legitimate thing. And those moments of like keeping in mind that like they look the way they do mainly for the audience. They don't actually like they all look much more similar than you would actually assume. The only two that would technically be like the easiest to spot, and he's just really dumb for not noticing, would be Ichika and Yotsuba.
Yeah, because they definitely have like
short hair.
Yeah, shorter hair.
Mm-hmm. So it's
well, their hair, they both have short hair, but one has like shorter, kind of more, not really pixie cut, but they are noticeably different lengths.
Yeah, like there's an arc.
Being a smart man, he's pretty fucking dumb.
There's an arc coming up that it doesn't really spoil anything, but
shows that Miku's the best.
No, literally all 5 of them, and this instance, dress, look exactly the same.
Is that when they're all wearing the white? Aren't they like dressed like the girl he used to know?
No.
Oh.
It's them at this current age, but that will be for later. I'm going to assume that they'll do what they did with Reina when they introduced her. But season 2, it starts with just the Futuro getting out of the hospital because he was struck with some pneumonia at the end of season 1. And girls are right back at it. They're just really shit at their studies. Though it is established that each of them have their strengths, and if they can bounce off of each other, which they don't really do, they would all do a good job because each one of them passes one subject that is different from the rest of them.
And that's part of their personality too. Like Miku likes history. Who is it? I think it was Miku definitely likes history. Ichika is good at like English.
Arts.
And yeah, I don't remember which one.
Itsuki is English. Specifically, Yotsuba's best at sports, but like stuff like that.
It's a kind of cliche. If they're all different, they all like their own. It's dumb. I mean, the show is great. Don't get me wrong. That concept is like, wow, way to cheap out on like.
I mean, to a certain degree, it makes sense. As someone who's a twin, like, though I will admit I'm not an identical twin, and I mean I have been friends with an identical twin.
It's good that you have a tattoo. I want to be able to tell you apart.
There is always just those levels. Like even with Justin and Jacob, the identical twins from elementary school. They both were distinctly liked their own stuff and were good at stuff that the other one wasn't good at. So I can see it being realistic enough, because there's always that worry of if both of you are like exactly good at the exact same thing and there's no uniqueness to you, then like there's a little bit of that identity crisis, because there is always a second you that exists. So unless you like take that time to be good at something else that your identical twin isn't good at, then there's no individuality there. It's fine. It makes sense.
Sorry, I was just looking at the voice actresses, and
yeah, they've all done stuff. They're all like massive voice actors.
Oh no, I mean I know that. The thing that surprised me is we're older than like 2 of them, which surprises me. I mean, I shouldn't be too surprised, but because voice acting in America is a lot different than voice acting in Japan. Because in America, there's really only like very few voice actors. Like The Simpsons has like 4 main voice actors that do like 80% of the roles.
Yeah.
And then in Japan, it's like, here's this person, which has done 1 million roles, but some of them are big, but a lot of them are small. And then, God, that's so crazy to think.
For episode 2, though, because it establishes that Futuro has met one of them before when he was younger. That was even a thing that was partially teased in season 1, where 5 years ago he used to be a rambunctious.
I think it's established he's met two different ones.
It was specifically the one that goes by Raina when they were young. It was just one of them. He doesn't know which of the 5 it was.
Well, supposedly Nino's met him.
Yeah, that was a crossing thing. Or no, because she saw the picture and she said that he looked hot.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, Nino has met him younger, but he doesn't know if it's Nino. Because other people, like, the thing is, because they leave you guessing, like, here's a hint of, I did this when I was younger, but he did that too, but he's not sure if it's her because someone else has a conflicting thing. Nino's only one, like, with solid evidence of, like, I have met this man because, like, she recognizes that picture. And
yeah, I do
like
know where you're coming from. Unfortunately, there's a thing that I could tell you that would be a spoiler, which contradicts that.
Don't you ruin this for me.
But the character or the name that he creates being Reina for the individual of one of them, and of course at one point there's the joke of like maybe there's a 6th sister, or it's like that's just not the case. He has a strong suspicion that it is definitely one of them. He can't tell which one it is because he's dumb.
I think that's the premise so far of this season. He says, I'm going to figure out who it is while he's in the hospital.
Yeah, and I mean, he's going to literally spend the rest of the show figuring out who the fuck it is because he doesn't admit that he knows who it is until literally the last 5 chapters.
I still can't believe this studio got the job for it this season because there really isn't like something great that the studio has done minus maybe Azura Lane, which wasn't that good. Just saying.
But the adult Reina that would be the actual version of them, I was curious to see how they would tackle her. Because, of course, if you actively used the voice actors who are the character it's supposed to be, you could tell exactly who it would be. Where it's like, oh, the adult version of Reina's walked up, but it's using Miku's voice actor or actress. Like, you know that's technically supposed to be Miku. That's not who it is. But...
So you already give me too much info, my man.
I mean, there's still 4 more. They did the interesting thing of getting a 6th voice actress that will just be doing the character for her.
Oh, so you don't. So you can't.
So you can't tell. And I am curious because if that is the case, that arc that is going to be coming up where all of them have to look the same, which essentially is because their grandfather like only imagines them as like 5 exact same people instead of like their individualities. So they dress back up and look exactly the same just for him. I'm going to assume that section where they're all dressed the same, that voice actress has a lot of work to do.
Hey, a lot of money.
Yeah. So things may get slightly confusing within the next couple of episodes this season for that show, unless they wait for whatever reason until next season to do that. I would assume Quint Max would have 4 seasons, but
doubt. I think just 3. 3 would be maybe a long third.
It's
season,
11 volumes, so it's not.
Oh, it's 14.
Or yeah, sorry, 14.
I'll say it's pretty sure it's 14.
Yeah. 12.
No. Where is it? You could tell we're professionals.
Sorry, it's 14 volumes, but it's only 122 chapters. Like some of those chapters are kind of long, and there's a specific one that is like technically 1 chapter, but it's spread over by like 8 chapters. So it like 122 chapters isn't a lot.
I mean, season 1 got a shitload of hype, but season 2, it's
maybe for you, you're not like super.
Speaking of like animation,
but season 2 is ranked 505. So
yeah, it's not top 100.
There's not a whole lot that is truly top 100 this season.
There's 100 that are top 100.
Of this season?
Of this season, no.
There's like 2.
Is Dr. Stone?
I think Dr. Stone is one of them.
Ranked
Or
200.
200, but is it Promised Neverland?
ReZero's 40.
Yeah.
I guarantee you he's up there just because people,
102.
People just always.
Not even in the top 100. It's 102.
Attack on Titan. Wow.
Yeah.
Number 2. Damn. That'll go down.
I think Promised Neverland is in the top 100.
Is it? It would make sense.
176. So, yeah. It's way harder to be in the top 100 than you think. So...
Hey, One Piece.
One Piece isn't even in the top 100.
That's
so like top 500 is still ranked very highly considering. Like
hey, but speaking of rants and animation quality going downhill, I reserve my 4-minute rant now to make it even 50. Of Attack on Titan, they fucked up Mikasa's pace. Like Jesus Christ, you had one job. But what makes me more mad is people that are threatening the studio and threatening animators' lives. It's like, get a fucking life. Like, I'm pissed about it, but I'm not going to go threaten someone over it because at the end of the day, you know, it's the director's decision to be like, you know what, this is good. Also, Mappa definitely took on way too many jobs. I mean, Jujutsu Kaisen, Attack on Titan, God of High School, Dororo. What else did they have?
Dororo was 2019, though.
Was that was early 2020?
No. It literally says January
7th,
2019. They have done, like, God of High School, Jujutsu Kaisen, and that, like, fairly close together.
Oh, Kakayuri. I don't know. They have some new stuff, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like they just filled their plate too much. Banana Fish, we gotta watch that. That's pretty good. They've done some good fucking animation. You got like Zombieland Saga. I feel like for Attack on Titan, you're using way too much animation, which your scenes are perfectly fine. But the problem I have with animation is they did a great job in the first like 4 episodes of this season, 4 or 5. Animation's good. Animation's good. Animation's good. Boom. Here's some shitty animation for a whole episode. Like. The fight in the episode was good, but when they got to some of the characters' faces, I'm like, why do they look like absolute dog shit? Like, I understand they grew up a little bit, but I think in the first season of Attack on Titan, they were like 17 or something like that. And then there's been a 5-year jump because they hint that out like, oh, Aaron's like, hey, what's up, Reiner? Get fucked. He's like, oh, shit. But the other thing in the episode, not the shitty animation, they broke the cardinal rule animation. You got to wait for someone to finish transforming before you beat the shit out of them. Immediately, one of the Titans are in the middle of their animation, and Aaron just punches the shit out of the Titan in the middle of the transformation. I'm like, fucking finally, someone did some shit about this. So, I mean, stop threatening people. If you're listening, it's bad. Don't threaten animators. It's not their fault. Unless it's Berserk 2017, then, I mean, I can't defend that shit.
The animator's doing a good job now.
Yeah, well,
he's doing the so I'm a spider, so what?
Which is good. That's some great use of CG animation. You can tell in that show, but we'll get to that now.
Because we're on little tangents. I fully caught up on Higurashi. Yeah, last episode they were literally like fully like
murder,
suicide. Yeah, there was a whole lot of murder. You saw Rika or Riku?
Just say the hair color. It's so much easier.
Purple.
Yeah.
She died a lot in that episode, like 5 times a lot.
There's a lot of episodes where some of them are just like fuck.
But in her case, in the original, it's established that like she's the one doing the looping. When she dies, it's a new loop. In this, there was literally just that final like she dies and then gets taken to like that abstract world that sits between the plane before she revives. And literally, there's an entire conversation where she's like, "I've been trapped here for like 100 years before."
Yeah.
So it's fully established like No, she got brought back into this world, so this is basically a sequel. So that specifically that section where it's like, oh yeah, there's nothing more than this.
I'm pretty sure that was an original as well. Where she has a conversation with herself about how I've been trapped. Pretty sure that was an original.
It was like a demon with some horn shit. But she's specifically like talking about how she got out, enjoyed 5 years, but she had been trapped in that loop previously for over 100 years of all of them doing different things, which is why if people have seen it and some stuff seems slightly different, it's essentially because she acknowledges that some stuff that happened before, she was making small adjustments to try to prevent those, and things were still going wrong. So, yeah. That's all I had to say about that. God
Thanks
damn
for
it.
joining this week.
Just fucking say it's a sequel. It's always one of those like, oh, it's a new thing, but it's like, all right.
I'm pretty sure they just changed up some of the stuff because there's some stuff that's changed, but there's a lot that's still the same.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do. Like, they literally brought back a character that was from season 1 that, like, they establish a flashback from the original show, and then that character does not do anything in relation to actually what happened. In fact, he murders her. And even everyone's initial response for that episode was like, oh my God, he's back. Oh my God, that was horrible. He literally stabbed her a lot and then set her on fire. Like, yeah. So it was crazy. That's all.
That's all I got. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.